Hi guys, it's been a really long time since I last did a tablet review, so today I will unbox and review the Artisul D16 Pro drawing monitor. So first and foremost, this is the first product I've tried from Artisul. I wasn't even aware of this brand until mid to late last year, but I love to see the market for drawing tablets grow, so I was really happy when Artisul offered to sponsor this tablet for a review on my channel. And in my last tablet review, I asked you guys about constructive criticism on my review form. And based on your feedback, I've added some tests and subjects to cover during this review of the Artisul D16 Pro, so hopefully you will get all of your common questions answered. I can't wait, so let's just get started. A little about the tablet itself. The Artisul D16 Pro is a 15.6 inch drawing monitor with a super wide 178 degrees view angle, 300 pps report rate, and 8192 levels of pressure sensitivity. The pen also supports up to 60 degrees tilt, but be aware that the tilt function only works on Mac. The D16 Pro comes with 8 short keys and a dial as well. The tablet reads the stylus from around 10mm on the screen, and the screen is full HD with a resolution of 920 by 1080. The tablet works with Mac as well as Windows and supports a long list of software including Photoshop, Illustrator, Sketchbook, Sci, and Clip Studio Paint. And just to clarify, this tablet is not a computer. It requires to be linked up to a computer or laptop in order to work. So let's have a look inside the box, shall we? Right away after removing the lid of the box, you find today's main protagonist, the Artisul D16 Pro drawing monitor. I'll save it for last, but I must admit that right away I did like the feeling of it. Right underneath it you find the stand that comes with the tablet. I really like it when there's a stand included in the package. I think it is essential to have a stand for a drawing monitor so we can maintain a comfortable work position while we draw. Underneath the stand you find the various cables, the stylus, a smudge guard glove, a cleaning cloth, and a quick guide for setting up the tablet. To the left you get a little pencil case to store all your small items. Underneath that you will find different power adapters. Let's take a quick look at the individual items. First there is the stylus. I think the stylus has a really nice design and it is comfortable to hold. However, I have a few personal issues with its design as well. I feel like it is too lightweight, and when you shake it you can kinda hear the button or the components inside of it. I also thought the button on it was a little too loud when clicking it, and I would personally prefer to have some kind of anti-slippery texture like rubber on the bottom part of the stylus. The pen nib is also a little too bouncy to my personal taste. Overall, I think it looks good and it does feel comfortable to hold, but it feels a little cheaper than I had expected. You also get an additional 10 extra nibs, so that's nice. As usual, the glove is way too short for my fingers, and besides that it even feels too big around my hand. I would really like these things to be made with some very stretchy fabric that just sits super close to my skin and that actually stretches so they match my finger length. But all the gloves I've tried feels this way, so I don't know if it's just my hands that are special. Remember folks to read the quick guide. Some tablets require you to set it up in a very specific order, so save yourself the trouble and just read the damn guide. The D16 Pro comes with very few cables and you actually only have to plug one of them into the tablet. That's a huge plus in my book because it's just faster to set it up and use it, and you can still have a neat and clean looking workspace. The stand comes with 2 adjustable metal feet. I don't really know what else to call them. Metal feet. Each can be put in 3 different positions, so you have 6 varying levels of positions to the stand. On the front of the stand there is this rubber texture that prevents the tablets from sliding off, and generally I felt that the tablet was stable sitting on the stand. Now it's time to check out the tablet itself and give you my first impression. At first the tablet looks really shiny, but don't worry, you just need to peel off that protective film. The actual surface on the tablet is this AG film that improves the visibility when working in a very bright setting because it has anti-glare effect. It's also supposed to minimap the gap between the glass and the display layer, reducing parallaxing, but we'll do a test on this later on. My overall first impression with the tablet was really good. Holding it in my hands gave me the impression that this is a high quality product. I like the feel of the shortcut keys and the surface as well. However, when removing the protective film, I noticed that the AG film had a few bubbles on the bottom of the screen. I just hope it won't peel off over time. Now that I've covered the content of the box and the physical appearance of the D16 Pro, let's move to the part where I turn it on and see how it performs. To set up the tablet, you need to plug some of these cables together. Basically, you plug the USB and the HDMI into your computer, the power outlet into a power source, and the USB-C into the tablet. The first time I turned it on, the stylus kept appearing on my main monitor and not on the D16 screen. It was really frustrating, but I found out that I just had to make sure that the D16 was registered as my main monitor, and then it worked perfectly. I would have done this regardless, but it is a little bit concerning that I was required to do it in order to make it work. When the tablet has been turned on and you've gotten it to work with the stylus, you need to go get the driver from the website and install it. Remember to remove all previous tablet drivers before installing the new one. I wasn't sure whether I should get the Windows driver or the firmware only, so I took a leap of faith and just downloaded the Windows driver. I ran into a problem where even after installing the driver 2 or 3 times, the software kept claiming that the tablet was disconnected when it clearly wasn't. That meant that I could draw with it no problem, but not access the software and set up the shortcut keys. So I thought that the only logical explanation was that I had downloaded the wrong driver. So I went in and downloaded the firmware only driver. It turns out, and excuse me, this is kind of ridiculous, that if you happen to download the firmware only, you will find a README file that informs you that if you own a tablet from a particular batch, you will need to install some additional firmware in order for the tablet to work properly. So it turns out that my tablet is from such a batch, which is indicated by the letter your tablet's serial number starts with. The README file guides you through the process, and it's really not that difficult to install the additional firmware, but why didn't they write this in the quick guide? Or put a piece of paper with instructions in the box, or just create a separate driver or update the current driver? Why was it necessary for me to find out about this all by myself? Anyway, I did get it to work after installing the additional firmware, so now the driver software was finally detecting the tablet and I could set up the software. At first glance, I really liked the driver software. Its layout is pretty similar to that of Wacom's, and it is definitely one of the most intuitive and easy to use tablet drivers I've encountered in a long time. As you can see, you can also rotate the display so you can use the tablet from all angles. That also means that you can rotate it if you're left-handed. Setting up the shortcuts is pretty easy. You click on the one you want to set up, and from the window you can set up a custom shortcut. However, I never really understood tablet software that doesn't just have a single window for shortcut input, but instead they have like all of these combo keys that you have to set to on and off. Initially, I thought that the driver was somehow broken because I couldn't access the dial or the bottom shortcut key, but as far as I could figure out by myself, it's because they are preset for you. It just annoys me a little that I had to figure it out for myself instead of getting some kind of feedback from the driver. I realized after going over D16 Pro's product page again that the dial can be activated if you hold down the middle button. Then a digital dial shows up on your screen, and here you can kind of semi-customize what you want the dial to do. You can choose to have the dial scroll for you, somewhat control your music player or zooming. However, the zooming just scrolls horizontally. I think it's a mistake and it should be fixable with a software update. Now the most exciting feature of this is the brush option, okay? It opens up another panel that allows you to quickly adjust the size of your brush, its transparency, the control, the flow, the smoothing level, and the hardness. I think it's a clever idea to have the options laid out like this, but it isn't completely flawless. It's like the menu acts a little random sometimes. I choose to be able to adjust the brush size using the ring, but sometimes the ring would just bring up the menu instead of changing the brush size. Most of the time though, it did work perfectly. You would re-access the brush panel by clicking the bottom, or you can just use the ring to adjust the setting you previously set it to. Sometimes, however, using the menu causes the pen to forget the pressure sensitivity exists. And I tested this menu in Photoshop, Medibang and Krita, and this brush menu was only available in Photoshop. You can still use the other features in the other programs, but the brush settings only work with Photoshop. The bottom shortcut key controls the LED light in the ring and the colors of it. Not sure why or what difference it makes, but plus for bling effort. Okay, so now it's time to show you the results of some of the tests I did on the Artisul D16 Pro. First, the diagonal line test, also known as the jitter test. I'm going to use a ruler and make a diagonal line at different speed and pressure. Since I'm using a ruler, you might assume that I will get a completely straight line, but on some tablets a lot of jitter occurs on diagonal lines. Usually the jitter is invisible on horizontal and vertical lines, so you can make diagonal lines to see how much jitter the tablet has. Don't ask me about the science behind this, okay? I only know how to conduct the test. I found that the lines were actually pretty wobbly. Now, since I haven't done this test before, I don't really have anything to compare to, but if you watch other reviews, at least you guys can compare the results. I made the test in Photoshop, Medibang and Krita, and I found that the result of jitteriness was pretty much the same in all three programs. The smoothing test. This is a test I often do and it correlates really well with the jitter test. I'm testing different lines at different smoothing levels. The more smoothing you add, the slower the line will get drawn. At 25%, for instance, it looks like there's a rather big delay between the stylus position and the line being drawn. It's not a flaw by the tablet, it's the software feature. The lower the smoothing, the more control you have over your strokes, but the more jittery the lines also get. A good tablet requires none or very little smoothing in order to produce nice strokes, whereas a tablet with a lot of jitter will need a lot more smoothing to produce nice strokes. And as you can imagine, it's pretty hard to draw if you have to be at 25% all the time. Since the tablet has a fair amount of jitter, I felt like the best smoothing level was around 5 to 10%. The smoothing helps your line looks good while you still maintain a lot of control and only with the cost of a little delay. Parallaxing. As far as parallaxing go when you're using the middle portion of the screen, I think it's pretty good. It doesn't look or feel like there's a big gap between the stylus and the cursor. However, when you move the pen towards the edges and corners of the tablet, the parallaxing becomes pretty noticeable to a point where the cursor moves completely past the object that I'm placing the stylus on. So the cursor is offsetting from the stylus. A quick fix, and you'll see me do this in the drawing demonstration coming up, is that I worked in window mode, so I wouldn't have to even get to the edge of the screen to access the entire interface. So in terms of parallaxing, this isn't the best experience when you move towards the edges of the tablet. The pressure test with light strokes. I decided to do a pressure test. A lot of you guys wanted to know how well the tablet I review do with light strokes. I performed the test in Photoshop and Medibang. The purpose is to find a level of sensitivity that allows you to draw as thin and thick as possible, but with a nice transition in the lines, and with a great control also. I found that the standard setting at 0 or the setting at +1 was the best setting in Photoshop and Medibang. I could draw very delicate lines with almost no pressure at all, and I didn't have to push painfully hard to get the thickest line either. I really think that the Artisul D16 Pro really utilizes all of those pressure levels and the quick report rate pretty nicely. A quick test in other software. As I mentioned earlier, I tested the tablet in Photoshop, Medibang and Krita. I found that the experience was pretty much the same in all of the programs and I didn't notice any exceptional weird behavior happening. So I've been testing this tablet since the end of January and I try to incorporate it into my daily workflow as much as possible, so I want to tell you about my experience using it and creating art with it before jumping to the conclusion. Meanwhile, I'll show you a drawing demonstration with a mix of real-time footage and time-lapse. So there is this weird thing happening to the pressure when I hold down Shift. I often use Shift to draw straight lines in Photoshop, but whenever I use Shift while drawing with this tablet, All pressure sensitivity disappeared as long as I held down the shift key. I never experienced this before, and the same thing happened in Medibang. In Krita, however, the shift key just changed the brush size and didn't destroy any pressure. I think the Artisul D16 Pro has one of the best textures I have tried so far. I don't know if it's this film specifically on the screen or the material of the pen nib. I suppose it is the film on the screen, but it has this really nice rough texture and almost sounds like paper when you draw on it. It also provides really good resistance to the stylus, so it doesn't feel like it's sliding all over the place. This is the closest I've ever been with a drawing monitor to feel like actual paper. Another thing that the D16 Pro gets a big plus for in my book is the instant reaction of the stylus. I'm not sure if it's because of the fast report rate, my guess is that it is, but there is absolutely no delay when I'm clicking stuff or starting to draw a line. Some tablets can spend a few milliseconds to kind of react to your first stroke, but this one is just pretty much instant, and I really enjoyed that. That also makes it really good for you light painters out there. That being said, sometimes the cursor would freeze on the screen and wouldn't react before I click somewhere. It's like it stopped reading the stylus position until I touched the tablet with it again. I also had two experiences when I thought I had crashed the software completely when I was playing with the dial menu, but after a few seconds it all came up again. So in conclusion, I really like the Artisul D16 Pro drawing monitor. However, it does have some minor things and one major thing that I don't like. I can forgive that it was hard to set up. It's not the first tablet I've had that was hard to get to work the first time, so it's not the fact that it was hard to set up, but rather the fact that I had to figure out some pretty random stuff by myself before it would work. And that's a minus in my book, I'm afraid. What I really enjoyed about this tablet was its physical quality. Besides for the stylus, which felt a bit cheaper than expected, the tablet feels like a solid, high quality product. The stand is nothing out of the ordinary, but it does the job and it does offer 6 different positions. The paper-like texture on the screen is probably my favorite physical feature of this tablet, and I haven't experienced this kind of texture on any other drawing monitor so far. It just feels so good to draw on. The fact that the lines are a bit jittery is a little minus in my book as well, but I wouldn't call it a deal breaker. My main issue is the parallaxing, or the offset of the cursor towards the edges of the tablet. The cursor offsets about 0.5 centimeter, and I think that's too much for my taste. At one point I wanted to create a new layer, but the cursor moved past that icon and instead clicked on delete layer. That just shouldn't happen. I used Photoshop in window mode during my drawing demonstrations, and while it didn't really bother me, it shouldn't be necessary. I don't know if parallaxing is a hardware or a software issue. I really hope it's a software issue so they can fix it. If they could just fix that one thing, the parallaxing, then this tablet would have been incredibly amazing, even with the few issues I've experienced. At the moment of publishing this video, the tablet sells for approximately $350 to $399, depending on whether it's on sale or not or what website you're looking on. I need Artisul to fix the parallaxing to justify $399 because I know similar tablets without parallaxing that sells for the same price. I hope it can get fixed because that would really just make this tablet wonderful, especially with the texture. And for Photoshop users as well, who would be able to use the advanced brush menu, this would be a wonderful companion on their art journey. And if you decide that the Artisul D16 Pro should be your next drawing companion, you can use my coupon in the description below, Nadiaxel1, to receive a $20 discount on this tablet. There are also some other tablet deals as well. They are not affiliate links or anything, they're just coupons that Artisul made for you guys. So that was my thoughts on the Artisul D16 Pro. There are definitely both some pros and some cons, and it's up to you guys, of course, to decide which weighs most for you. I'm happy to see another competitor enter the market of drawing tablets. Artisul definitely have the ideas and potential to create a lot of amazing drawing tablets, so I really hope that my video is some helpful feedback for them as well as you guys. And if you feel like there are still some areas I didn't cover, feel free to request more coverage in the comments below for future reviews. Just don't make it too advanced. I can't talk about color profiles and stuff like that. And remember to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, share it with your friends and enemies, and until next time, guys, take care. Bye!